Where are they now? A very good question. Hi, welcome back to St Blazey Model World, and I'm Roger. And in this video I thought it'd be interesting to have a quick look at the two subjects of our main previous couple of videos. I started doing a series on building kits with an emphasis on structure, buildings, signal gantries, that type of thing, rather than the usual sort of Supermarine Spitfire or E-type Jaguar. So we started with a very simple kit, the simplest kit that I could find, and that was the War Memorial. Here, I'll trip over my words. War Memorial. And the second subject was the garage petrol station. Both of these are Dapol kits. Latterly, I think the tooling was owned by Airfix. They're both 00 scale kits suitable for 00 gauge railways. The last time you saw both of these models, they were covered in primer, but as you can see, things have moved on. So let's have a quick look. So let's start with our War Memorial. As you can see, a number of things have happened to this. As well as being given a coat of primer, it's now been more or less finished, and the only thing left to do on this model is to give it a quick spray with a coat of clear coat, just to protect the work that we've done, really. You'll notice that things have changed a bit. The main stone itself is now sprayed, ready to sort of represent concrete or cement. We've got some engraving here to represent the names of those who gave their lives in the service of our particular country, and we've even incorporated a wreath. Just coming up now are a brief few slide shots of how we did this, and I'll explain how it was done and how we got to this stage. Hope you find it interesting. So here we can see the model with the main stone painted in a beige colour to represent our cement concrete structure. In this view, the plinths with the names on have been painted black. In this view I've added some engraving. Of course, it isn't really engraving. This was done with the point of a cocktail stick in the same colour that we use for the main stone. And of course it's to suggest that there is some engraving there. You'll also notice the texture on the steps. What I did with that was just put a little bit of sand onto the real sand onto the steps of the memorial and around the stone itself, just to give it that sort of weathered look, and then it was resprayed. None of this stuff is hard to do, and it's all very subtle, but it does make a difference. In this view, which appears to be at first glance very much the same as the previous one, I've added some black wash just in the creases of the stonework, and you can see there where it is. So this is the first view of the wreath under construction, and apologies, it's not entirely in focus. What is it? Well, it's about 12mm of red wire flex that I had spare, and folded and glued into something that represents a wreath shape. Next I used my favourite liquid cement, which is a Tamiya one. Other products are out there, I just happen to like this one, and put in some dots of glue around that wire flex, again using the tip of a cocktail stick. The whole thing was then covered in a blend of various greens of grass scatter. It doesn't look much here, but that wreath is underneath that, and of course the glue will apply the scatter in certain points. And there is the finished article. Apologies if it's not very large on the screen. It's not very large in real life either, believe you me, but there it is, and all that remains now is to glue it onto the steps of our war memorial. And there it is, the finished product, and I hope you'll agree that it looks interesting, it looks realistic. Hopefully it's different from the same kit that's on the next guy's diorama further down the exhibition hall, and we got ourselves a lovely little war memorial there. The only other thing I did, which I forgot to mention, was that I used some black wash in the very corners of the steps up to the memorial stone itself. These are all, as I said, very subtle things, and of course it is a 3D structure, but things like washes, panel lines on your, if you are building that Spitfire, all these things can enhance the appearance of your model. So that's the War Memorial ready to go. Right then, moving on to a garage, the independent petrol station DIY mechanic, independent mechanic. This building typical of the sort of thing you would find all over the United Kingdom, certainly sort of around the 40s, 50s, 60s and even into the 70s and 80s. And what did we do to this? Well, quite a lot, as you can see. I'm going to, rather than a slideshow, I'll talk you through this one. First and foremost, of course, the roof, that was sprayed with a silver aluminium colour. We then added some black wash to give it some, a little bit of detail and weathering along the runs of the corrugations and around the gutter line, or centre of the roof line rather, there as well. As you can see, we've added a little bit of vegetation just to give it that sort of worn appearance, really. Bit of moss growing on the roof. It was typical of the period, probably still happens today. Just at the base of the model, you can see we've started to create some weathering here. We've got some grass scatter, bit of clump foliage added, a little bit of ballast there that I put in as well, just to give it a sort of realistic feel. As you can see, the model has been painted in a cream and brown livery, not too dissimilar from the Great Western Railway livery, but that's certainly not the aim. It's simply what I had in stock, and as you know, I like to favour using what we have, keep the cost down. On the sides of the building, we've got some streaking, again applied with a black wash, just to give that sort of weathered look, really. Camera's nearly fallen over. Let's flip it round to the other side. Same sort of thing. We've added a couple of large scale adverts on the side, and again, once these have been affixed, we just put a bit of black wash over them just to sort of wear them down a bit, make them slightly less obvious. Our skylight is here, and the glazing is now all attached. There is glazing on this skylight inside. We've got glazing on our side windows just here and here. At the front of the shop, we've glazed the door, and we've also glazed this window here. Now, this window here, the appearance that you're looking at is very, very deliberate, because I wanted to create the look of a sort of blown window, a window that has been there for a period of time, has soaked up some moisture, perhaps doesn't have quite the clarity of some of the smaller windows. And of course that would be the way it was, because this very large window, in the scale of things, would be expensive to replace, and the owner of the premises would prolong that cost as much as they could. How did I do that? Well, the skylight, let's get it there, and all the other windows have been affixed with my liquid Tamiya cement. The main window has been applied, or been affixed rather, with super glue. Why super glue? Well, I happen to know that super glue gives off fumes, and the cellophane and plastic, and that applies to plastic that you get with your Spitfire, as we're working on that example. That glazing will attract the fumes, and that is what has created that effect, but it is very, very deliberate. Lastly, well, not quite lastly, you'll notice that we've given this premises a name, Whittingham's. On a serious note now, Whittingham's, who is Whittingham? Most of you will know him as Chris Hale's Heritage Railway. Chris passed away earlier this year, and this model, along with our war memorial that we saw earlier, is going to live on the 00 gauge exhibition layout that I'm building, and as many buildings as possible on that diorama will have names that reflect those that have disappeared from my life this year. I haven't had a great year, as many of you know, but Chris Whittingham, Chris Hale's Heritage Railway, and his site is still up, his YouTube channel. If you want to go and have a look, you will find a link in the description. And of course, along with many of these buildings, these types of businesses, they all had their own sort of transport. I had a spare 00 scale Ford Anglia van suitable for the period. There it is, and you'll notice the Chris Hales Heritage Railway logo on the bonnet, and on the side there, I hope you can see it, Whittingham's, painted in the same livery as the premises itself. And once this is in situ, it's going to make a lovely little model. This building, along with many of the others on the diorama, will have internal lights fitted, and of course we're still to have the range of petrol pumps along the front here, but that's how it's looking so far. I hope you found this interesting. They are two lovely little models. Let's just bring our war memorial back in. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and on a diorama they really are going to create talking points, and at a fairly low cost as well. Don't forget, on this channel I like to remind viewers to keep the costs down. It is an expensive hobby. Please look around, think of inspiration, think of a different way of doing things, and if something isn't perfect, remember, nearly good enough really is good enough. That's it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. When you come back next time, we're going to be doing something slightly different, and I hope and you'll look forward to that one. Until then, as usual, viewers, please look after yourselves. Please stay safe. The wolf is always at the door, as I've learnt this year. Take care. Bye for now from St Blazey Model World. Bye-bye.